Hi everyone, it's Ellen. Thanks for being with me today. I know some of you are going to log on soon and some are going to watch us on replay, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just happy that people are watching it. We're starting to get a lot more views on our Facebook channel, which is good. I'm trying to build up my Facebook viewership. And then one day, hopefully when it gets to a certain point, we'll also build up our YouTube. Right now we have a channel, but we don't have anything on it. So it's nice for Facebook videos like this because you can watch them live, you can watch them on the replay. But if you were looking to watch it again, like in a month for something specific you saw in this video, it's kind of hard to find it in all of the posts. So I like YouTube because once you have a channel and you post to your channel, you can also just, go to our channel and look up specific videos that we do. So today we're going to be working a bit more on these two end tables that were kind of a disaster. They kind of looked okay, but when I was stripping them down, I noticed that they had some kind of a white gluey substance that was put on them before they were varnished or lacquered in the factory, and boy, that stuff is hard to get off. I've actually never come across it before, so it was very weird, but it's like gum. So it's been a little bit hard prepping them, but I did get the second table almost completely prepped. So I want to show you a couple of different stages. We're going to do a little bit of painting today just to show you how easy it is to actually paint. I chose to use, and this is probably backward again. I found out that on Androids you can't reverse your script on these crazy live videos. You can on iPhones, but I don't have an iPhone. So this is limestone. It's a fusion mineral paint. It's a white, but it's very, has a very slight bit of yellow. This is it on one of the legs for the tables. It's not a pure bright white like some of the other colors they have. I really like it because it has just a hint of yellow, like very little bit. So this leg, I think this leg has, yeah, this leg is ready to wax. So I'm going to point you down to the different stages of things that we have going on here. I have table legs in different stages. I have the feet. So for instance, this foot is just painted. It has no waxing on it. This foot has wax on it, so you can see the darkened areas that bring out the detail a little bit. I don't know if you can see that very well. Kind of crooked. Somebody said they look like pumpkins, and they actually do, don't they? And then this is how we want it to be, with a tiny little bit of gold on the legs. So these are called bun feet. Actually, they're called, well, bun feet, but they are in the shape of pumpkin. And that's how the feet are going to end up. So we'll do a little bit of that. And this is one of the legs that is waxed with an antiquing wax to bring out the darkness. So if I hold these two up, oh, these are really heavy. I could do weights with these, I mean, all day long. It's like 10 pounds each. So you can see the difference there, right? This leg has been painted only, kind of boring. This leg has antiquing wax. And then I'm going to show you another comparison here of how, oh, they're heavy. Oh. Of how we want them to look in the end. So the end will have just a hint of gold on them. So you can see that there. They kind of look like little African faces or something. And that's the feet with just a little bit of gold and without. So this is how we want it to be in the end. Once we have the table all together, I can do my final little touch-ups because I think I need to add a little bit more black wax, but I'm not sure. So, but today we'll work on a little bit of painting, a little bit of waxing to show you how the black wax goes, and a little bit of gold wax. So that will be what we're doing today. I was going to try to get the table put together today, but I just don't think there's going to be enough time, and I don't want to bore you guys to tears. So I think I'll do another short video in the next couple of days just on putting it all together so you can see how it all goes. So I am using Miss Mustard Seed. I always say it wrong. Miss Mustard Seed Antiquing Wax, and Fusion Minerals Paint sells this. You can go to their website, fusionmineralpaint.com. My stockist is on the west side of Kelowna, and she has the Pink Bee Company. Hi, Barb. And so this is where I get my stuff, is from her. There's another lady in Salmon Arm. I forget her name, Linda, I believe it is. She has a store called Remarket, a little shop, and she also is a stockist for Fusion Mineral Paint. So the Fusion Mineral Paint is sold through stockists, so they have, throughout the country, they have people who sell it, and they all have little shops. So Linda, I haven't actually bought paint from, but I get my IOD transfers from her. Because the Pink Bee doesn't sell those. So hi to Linda. And I believe there's one other stockist in Kelowna, although I cannot remember the name of the company, and I've never been there either. But just look online, Fusion Mineral Paint, and find who is the stockist in your area, and then you would order it. A pint of paint is about $23 to $25, and it goes a long, long ways. Like if you bought a liter or those quart-sized cans of chalk paint, you're paying about, I'd say $30 to $40 a can, right? And I can go through a ton of paint out of a can of chalk paint just to do one piece. Like, it's crazy how much you use because it doesn't have the pigment to cover very well. Whereas this stuff is so pigmented that when you put it on, you notice it. You might not notice it really, really well the first coat, but second or third coat, I mean, it's crazy. Now, if you were covering, so this is how these legs were originally. So this is like a medium to dark brown shellac that's on here. If I'm covering a light, if I'm going this color, which a lot of wood is this color, to limestone, which is the white that I'm using. So if I'm going medium color to light or medium to dark to light, I will probably have to use 3 coats. That's the same with house paint or any other paint, because it just has to cover better with the 3rd coat. You'll never get it properly covered with with 2 coats unless you put them on really thick, and you don't want to do that with this because then you're going to get a lot of brush strokes. If you were going dark, if you were covering white paint, say, with black, you might still also need to do 3 coats, just because the white still shows up really well through the black. The only time that it works perfectly is when you go medium to medium paint. So if the color is a similar hue, then 2 coats is kind of okay. But going white, which we are now over this, is taking 3 coats. But they're thin coats. I don't paint with thick coats because it just leaves a lot of mess. So this one is in the prep stage. It's had Ultra Grip, which is another Fusion product, put over all of the detailed bits here. This would be a nightmare to sand. So in order for the paint to stick, it has to either have been scuff sanded or have Ultra Grip or something like that put on it. Chalk paint, you don't have to sand, they say, although I mean, I would. It's not as good as it's all cracked up to be. Plus, with chalk paint, the entire piece has to be heavily waxed after. With Fusion paint, you don't have to wax it if you don't want to. I use wax generally only as an accent, like the antiquing wax. I don't use it to cover the paint or have the paint seal or be hard or anything when it dries. It's really nice when it dries. So this piece is going up on the shelf. And then we're going to work on some of these feet, just paint them a little bit, and some of these legs, and we'll see how far we get today. So probably be 30-40 minutes, so count on it. Okay, so I'm going to move this camera down, and whoop, let's see where we're at here. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing here. I think that might be about right. Okay, so I'm going to lock it in. If I could figure out how to lock it in. Okay, and I'm hoping you can hear me okay. I'm right here. So I'm going to put some gloves on. And maybe move this a little bit this way. I'm going to get some paint out. Now this one here has 2 coats. This one has 1 coat. So you can see where, probably see where it's a little bit streaky, and you can see the dark coming through from the brown wood. That's what 1 coat looks like. But even that's, this back hasn't been painted, but this front has 1 coat. And this one has 2 coats, so already you can see, actually this one I think has 3 coats. Yeah, I think it has 3 coats because it's pretty much the perfect color. That's the color that we want. Okay, so I'm going to pour some paint. With this paint, you just stir it up. I've already pre-stirred it. And I'm going to paint right out of the bottle today, although I don't recommend it. I usually get a little bowl like this. I collect these from the thrift store because I use a lot of them. And I just kind of work with those. And move this out of the road. Put this down. So this is the limestone fusion mineral paint. I'm hoping you can really see well. Okay, so this foot is done. I'm going to put it away over here. This foot has a coat of antiquing wax. I'm going to put it away. This foot also has antiquing wax. You can really see the black, or it's actually like a dark gray antiquing wax in there. And this is the one that, let's see here. Yeah, this is the one that still needs a coat of paint. So I'm gonna dip my brush in. You just really want a tiny, tiny little bit on your brush. I mean, seriously, it just takes so little. With these, I go around the top half first. It's quite quick once you get going. I don't know if you can see that very well. And once I've gone over the top half, I go around again on the bottom half. And then I would go, oh, a little bit more to do here. And then I go around and just smooth it. So you can see that. And I go pretty fast, but that's how I do these. And then it completely smooths the paint out. So that is now done. And that one can dry and we will wax it later. So I'm going to paint this one leg and show you how easy that is. I mean, you could be intimidated by these, I guess, a little bit, but there's really no reason to be, because if you just use a small amount of paint at a time, so I actually am taking it off my brush a bit. There's really very little on there. And just start. Do you see that? How nicely it coats? It's just beautiful paint. I mean, it really is. Like I said, I've used other paints for years and I've not really loved them. And then when I came across this paint, I just really loved it. So you can smoosh it around, even, you know, where you want, but then always smooth your paint out one direction. Get rid of any blobs. Okay, so I'm going to do this. And maybe move it back a little bit. Sorry about the wiggles. So this is how we do it. And this, I mean, I'll let this dry, and then later tonight I'll do a third coat. Now this one hasn't had any paint on the back. I did spray a little bit of primer on the back only because I didn't on the other set. I just did on this set, and I don't even know why I did. So here you can see the way I'm doing it has some streaks, right? I don't know if you can see those streaks because I've been kind of blobbing it on. But if you now take your brush and just very gently pull it in one direction, you might still see a little bit of streaking, but when you do your third coat and do it just like this, that will cover that streaking up 100%. Okay. It's actually really, like I say, it's very therapeutic to paint. I don't know why, but for me it is anyways. It helps me process things and get things out of my mind that have been rolling around in there for a day or two. So our Facebook page is seeing a little bit more growth, which is awesome because it takes time to build it up. It's amazing, but the interest in the live videos seems to be what's catching people to embark on becoming a follower, which is nice. Kind of nice to see people interested in it. One of the people at the restore in our local area, he was saying that there's a lot of people starting to do painting of their furniture and buying pieces at the restore to finish, because really, if you go on Wayfair or you go on one of the sites, Pier 1, One Kings Lane, any of those sites, and you start looking at pieces like this that are unique, that are different, that are good quality pieces, but that have color, anything that's been colored, black, gray, white, the price tags on them are crazy. So you can go in and get a really nice piece at, you know, someplace like a thrift store or a restore, Habitat for Humanity store type thing. Get a really nice piece, get a pint of paint, seriously. I mean, a pint of paint, of this paint anyway, goes a long, long, long ways. And just, you know, a few little supplies, paintbrush, buffing pad, that sort of thing. And you can paint your piece and make a beautiful piece for yourself with, you know, hardly any cost. I did a hutch a few months ago for a lady. It was blue. She'd had it for many, many years, she said. And it was honestly kind of a, I don't know, it's kind of a weird blue, but I think back in the day it was probably a really pretty color. But she wanted it paint similar to this color, similar to the limestone. And she was kind of nervous about having it painted. And I said, well, when it's done, it will be a statement piece. When people see it, they will, you know, be amazed. So it was like, you know. So then I painted it. And when they picked it up, they were just really surprised at how well it turned out. And it was really pretty. And then I've talked to her since then, and she says that every time someone comes into her house, that's the first thing they comment on now. So that's, you know, that was her own hutch. But I mean, there's many, like the black hutch we just did. I got that one off the buy and sell. And it's beautiful, actually, but doesn't cost a whole heck of a lot if you're going to paint it for yourself. If you wanted something like that, or coffee tables, end tables. I'm going to turn my sound off because somebody keeps beeping me. If I can turn it off. Yep, I can. Goodbye. Okay, so I'm going to let this one dry, and this one is ready for waxing. So this one has had waxing, this one hasn't. Now, I'm hoping you can see this. Let me drop it a little bit. Whoopsie. This camera stuff is not my forte. Okay, how's that? Can you see that okay? Maybe? Okay, so this one has been painted. I'm just gonna sand it a tiny little bit just to get any tiny little bits of paint dust get dried into the piece. It doesn't need a whole lot. I just feel it over with my hands first, and then if I think it needs a little bit of sanding, I do it. So then if you use these buffing pads, which I think this is like a 200 or 400 or something, to buff it after each coat, it's just like buttery smooth. It's absolutely perfectly smooth. And then just give it a little wipe down to get the dust out. And if you have any questions too or comments, please leave them, or come online and leave them, because I will answer them. Okay, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to use my clear wax, which is just plain old finishing wax, very cheap at the hardware stores, about $11 for this big tin. What I want to do is I don't want to get the dark wax heavy in here or in the back. In fact, the back I'm not going to do it all with wax. So I don't want to get the black wax heavier in here. I want to get it heavier in here and in the feet. So in order to keep the black wax so that I can wipe it off after, I'm just going to put some clear wax here. And let me see if I can put this up a little bit. Maybe like that. That's a little bit better. I'm going to put a tiny dusting of it here and a tiny dusting of it on the foot. Okay, and then I'm going to take my black wax brush, and this is the antiquing wax, which is like, it looks black, but it's a super mocha brown color actually. Put that over there. And okay, prepare yourself. You just want to smoosh it in all of the grooves. So you're trying to get in every little groove here. I find sometimes I have to do this 2 or 3 times, and each time you do it, it gets darker and darker and darker. So you want to get all along the edge, all underneath here. And I'm not too worried about this because I put the clear wax on so I can take it off again. Remember, clear wax will remove your colored wax if you have too much in one spot and you really don't like it, how it looks. So making sure to get in all these grooves, and these are a coarse brush. These are a natural bristle brush. Boy, that's hard to say. Natural bristle brush. And they really help to get the wax deep into the grooves. I do have another natural bristle brush, but this one's a lot softer. It's almost too soft. I use this for certain things though. So I have different types of wax brushes, different sizes and different stiffness, I guess you would say, to them. Okay, so you see these white bits? I want to just dig that wax up in there. So just press it in. Okay, I'll let that dry on for a second. And we'll do the feet. And again, we're trying to press it into the grooves of the feet. Okay. Okay, and I'm going to take my my cloth. You can use shop cloths, or I just, I go to the thrift store and I get bags of towels and then I chop them up. This one I used from this morning. But you just chop them up and they work just fine. It's very inexpensive. So then you just wipe it back. Now, that is not wiped back to perfection. So I need to go around the edges, get any excess off I don't want. I can drag it down into here a little bit because I want a little tiny bit of this wax down here. But I don't want it this thick. Do you see what I mean? Get into these grooves a bit and knock some of that wax out. And I actually like how that looks even with the first coat. So the more, like if you put another coat on here, you're just going to keep building and building, which you might want or you might not want. So here I have a bit too much there. It's kind of blobbing on me. So I'm going to take my clear wax and wipe it off. And push a little bit up onto the crown here. And I actually think that's not too bad. Okay, so we'll do the foot a little bit better. Get it in this corner here, all around this edge. We want the black wax to go anywhere there's a groove. We want the wax to stay. I'm going to put a little bit more of this clear wax up here where I don't want it so much. Up here and in here. Sorry. A little bit more on. I have some other wax that's even darker than this, but I thought this was a nice color for this piece. Okay, so once again, take your cloth and just wipe off what you don't want. And it doesn't matter if it's a bit of the gray down here. That's kind of what I want, but I don't want any on the back side. You just want it to be kind of like where, I guess it's supposed to look like dirt. Like if this sat for a long time in a house, and you came across it one day, it might look like that instead of pure white. So that's all waxing is. It's basically to age it. It's not really for much else. Like this is not, in this case, I'm not sealing the piece with wax. I'm simply using it to accent the piece. Okay, so it's a little light here. I think I'll add a little bit more because it's just not enough for my liking. Add a little bit more in there. Take it off a little bit. And you want to watch that there's no real blobby areas, you know, like where it's obvious that it's been put on by a human. You want it to just look like a really dirty old piece. I guess is how it goes. Now, this is like, if you put wax on without putting some clear wax on first, just a little bit, this paint is a bit porous as it is now. So the wax is gonna stick, and I can't get that off. Do you see that? It's just not coming off. I forgot to put my little tiny smear of clear wax on it first. Fortunately, I can take clear wax now and take it off. So That's the trick. Wax removes wax. So now that I have the little bit of clear wax, and we go up into here as well, just a little bit. Like, it's not like you're waxing a piece of furniture. It's just you're just putting a skiff of it on because it acts as kind of a barrier for the black stuff. Otherwise, you can really, not really mess up a piece, but you can get a little carried away with the black wax, and it can be really hard to get off otherwise. The other thing, in case you're ever stuck, that does take off black wax really easily is mineral spirits, but that's a bit of a harsh smelling chemical, but it does work good for taking wax off. So we're just smearing that all around, getting inside these ears, I call them. They look like cleaning out ears. Kind of gross, but get as much as you can in there. Dab it in. I find it hard to get the wax to stick in these long grooves very well. Okay, so I think that is ready for, see, and then it came off much nicer that time. So pulling it down again. If there's anywhere that I don't like it, I could just add the clear wax to pull it off. If there's a place that I want more, I just add more wax, and then you add it and remove it, and add it and remove it until you get to where you really want to be. So there's too much in here, so I'll take my cloth. Now remember, I said I don't want wax on the back side, and I don't. So I will fix that in a second. Just going to tidy this up a bit more. Okay, so this here I don't want. So I'm going to take it off with my clear. Use my cloth. I wish that I could do horizontal pictures with this. It would sure be a lot nicer than vertical, but apparently also that only works with if you have an iPhone on Facebook Lives. Seems like everything's kind of geared to the iPhones these days. Okay, so now done that side, I've done that side. So let me compare now both sides. And this side's way heavier, and I don't like that. So use your you know, your eyes to compare both sides and just see what might need to be removed a little bit. I mean, you're not going to be seeing both sides of the table when you know, sit down, but just always try to have things symmetrical, just in case somebody has supervision and sees that one side's a little bit darker than the other. Hopefully not. But. And with the French country look, because it is kind of like grunging it up to look like dirt, basically, on your piece, you don't have to be super careful about any of this. The painting, I would suggest putting on a really nice coat of paint. Make sure your paint's really well done. But as far as your waxing, you don't need to be super fussy on it. But you do want it to be nice. I mean, there's no point going through all this if you don't do it nice in the end, right? Now, once this all dries, I can buff it to a really nice sheen too. You can see the little bit of a sheen there. So that's another thing. But it's got the nice detail to it now, I think. Once this dries too, even after about 5 minutes, it's on there. So then you either have to work it out with mineral spirits, or maybe if you're lucky, you can get at it with some other wax. I'm just going to give this other one a little bit more because it is not dark enough. I'll give it another zap. This previous wax on this one has dried quite a long time ago, like a couple of hours ago, so it's it'll take a second coat now like this pretty well. And more of the dark will stay in the grooves now. See? Just like that. So what I have also is I have espresso, which is a really pretty brown wax, but I'm literally right out. Barb, help. I went to get some the other day, and I guess we forgot to put it in the container, in the bag, and or I didn't buy it. I don't know what I did, but I came home without it anyway. So these just have the black on them. I'm going to warm it up a little bit with some brown. Just a very, very little bit. Just to kind of warm up this color, if you can see that. And I'm going to put a little bit on the feet, and especially on this round bit here where it looks like dirt. And a little bit in the leg, just a tiny bit. Just gives it a little bit of warmth because my tabletop is a nice brown color. I'll show you that after. And I want there to be just a hint of brown on these legs. So that's the espresso. You can barely notice it, but this is the gray, this is the brown. You can see the brown more there now. So I'll do some more on this one and get it on there. It doesn't have to be put on perfectly at all. This one needs a bit more black on the foot. I'll do that first. It's pretty fast, isn't it? When you get going at it. I mean, to start, it's kind of, ugh, you know, you're getting everything out, trying to figure out where to put everything. There's a lot of people do this out of their homes, like in their living rooms, because this paint has no VOCs or low VOCs. It's not got the volatile chemicals that are in a lot of paints when you smell paints on the market. Okay, so I think a little bit there needed. And we want it to match up. Even in there, I have to go back and do that gold one a little bit. Well, that didn't do much, did it? And there. And go sideways to the lines, that helps. Okay. All right. A little bit of this brown back on. And this is a pretty soft brush, so I can just kind of paint it on and rub it around a little bit. When it's all on the table and the table's done, then I can go back and check every leg and every little bit of it just to make sure that I have it where I want it. Okay, so that's about right. Okay, so this one has 2 coats, and look how nicely this is drying. Isn't that pretty? Just so pretty. It's still drying. It'll be another 10 or 15 minutes, and then another coat can be put on that. This one is ready to go. That one's ready to go. That one is ready to go. This is actually from the other table, so I'm going to put this one away. Whoops. Oh. And this is the one that, the other one that goes with this table. So it needs a little bit of the warm wax. It's just a very, very, very light rosy brown color. Very pretty. It's one of my faves. This one needs a bit more black. Okay. Whoop. Just a little bit on the tops of these feet. So we make sure it looks like it's got lots of dirt there. And I'm not even going to do anything with that. Okay, so that is pretty much okay. I think this one needs a little tiny bit more in here. And this is the second coat of wax, so it should stick a little bit better the second time, because the wax will stick to the previous wax. If that makes sense. I really love the French country look, though. I think it's so pretty. It's a lot of creams, neutrals, pastels, a little bit of wood. Some places a lot of wood. A lot of pastel or light color, faded, I guess, is more the color. Pastel's not really, I mean, you don't want a pastel in French country decor that's a pure pastel. Everything has to look old. So if you were to do, pastel blue, you'd still want to use an aging wax to age it, because you want it to look like it's old. So French country decor is a lot of pale yellow, pale blue, pale greens, pinks, whites, different tones of whites, and grays, browns, and wood. And they are famous for using materials like chintz and toile. Toile is a fabric that, if you ever see a fabric that has like a story printed on it, like a woman out gardening or something, or not gardening, but picking fruit from a tree, and the fabric's all pink, and then there's this repeat pattern of this woman doing something, or somebody in a vineyard or whatever. It's got a little story on it. That's what toile is. They're famous for using toile. And chintz is a lot of the nice, beautiful colored florals. And they also like wood, but it has to, I mean, they use very specific types of furniture for French country. It's usually bulky. It usually has cabriole legs like this. This is a cabriole leg, so this is the S-curve. It's actually a backwards S-curve, but cabriole legs are classic of French decor. Really straight legs are pretty classic of Italian decor. So French country just about always has stuff like this, or really chunky wood. Like a lot of their big tables are super chunky wood. I don't think I did the gray on this one, but it's really beautiful decor, and a lot of people are getting into it again because it is so pretty, and kind of getting away from all the glittery goop that's out there. So when this piece is done, this will be a French country piece ready for someone's home. And these end tables are, I'd say, a little tall. I think I measured them at 24 inches tall. End tables are anywhere from 21 to about 27 tall, if you can believe it. But I mean, there's some big sofa sets out there. I have a leather sofa set that is actually taller than the average set as well. It's kind of hard to get coffee tables. Okay, so that is the legs. Pretty nice. Everything looks good. Everything has the proper finishing. So now what I'm going to do is show you how to wax this little foot. I'm going to put a glove back on because I get wax on myself and it's hard to get off. Actually, if you get wax on yourself, just use butter or a little bit of olive oil and it comes right off. Okay, so I don't want so much on this part of my foot. I mostly want it, see I'm putting the wax on. I'm just going to spread the wax around, just a real light skiff. And then I'm going to put the dark on. Can you see this okay? Put the dark on, so that looks pretty bad. Keep going around putting the dark on. And once you get used to what it does, so the wax will always end up in the deep grooves. Look what I did. Wax on my fingers already. Because I didn't put a glove on my other hand. And keep going around. Get it in all the grooves and all the bottom part. Not the very bottom, just the bits here. So that's really dark. And that would just distort the whole table because we don't want the whole table to look like that. It just is way too dark, see? So now we take the cloth, and because we put the clear wax on originally, we can pull off any paint or any wax that we don't want to. And you can get as deep into the grooves as you want with your fingernails. Just pull it off. So what it's doing is it's leaving it in the grooves, but it's also leaving a tiny film of it so that it matches the other piece there. Okay. Let's see. I'll do a little bit more. So that is how we want it. Okay, so it's got the dark in the grooves, and it's not perfect, but that's what you want. You want it to be kind of messy, sloppy, like it's just collected 100 years worth of dirt and dust from an old house or an old vineyard or something in France that somebody abandoned. I don't know. Have to make up a story. Okay, so this, I'm going to turn the camera around. Oh no, actually, you know what? I'm going to do one of these gilded waxes first, and then I'll turn the camera around and show you what the top of the table looks like. So this is my gold gilding wax. This is I think it's PBO Gede or something brand. I got this actually off Amazon. One of these little tubs of wax lasts a long time. So you just put it on your finger. You can use a brush, but I use my finger. And you just want to touch the tops, like the tops of the leaves, right? When you first get started, you might not really know where you're going, but just trust yourself to keep filling in, filling in, filling in, filling in. And as you start filling in, you'll see where you need to add more. You can always take it off in an area you don't like if you kind of mess up. And you don't want your wax there. So I'm going to try and match that one over there, so I need a bit more. I think almost this gray wax is a little bit damp still because it's not taking super well, but okay. And a little bit up there, a little bit over there. I tend to not use as much as I probably should. My other daughter, she was doing some of this the other day and she was just wailing it on, and I'm like, don't use so much, but She she has little tiny fingers, and where her wax needed to go, it was just perfect in the end. So, and like I said, if you kind of make a mistake, you can take it off with the clear wax. I'll do a little bit more on these leaves. So once I get a basic bit on, I'll go back and really add in, keep adding in and keep building it up and keep building it up. I don't know if you can see that very well. You see that? And I'll just keep adding in and adding in. So I want this to be, I want it to be French country, but I also want it to be a little bit classy French country, if that is a term. They do tend to use a lot of gold gilding in their furnishings, which is something that we in America don't seem to really do in furnishings, but it's so pretty when you see it. Beautiful stuff. And gold gilding can be done with gold leaf, which is pounded gold, believe it or not, into just fine papers. I'm not sure how they do that, but that's what they do. And the gold leaf is then placed on furniture. And I mean, some countries where they had, you know, kings and queens and palaces and things like that, they've been doing gold leafing for years and years and years. There's a little bit there that I don't want because I don't have it over there, so I'm gonna take that bit off. Get a cloth, get some wax, and take it off. See how easy that is, just to take it off there? So I can go back and clean it up where I don't want it. So you don't have to be afraid of it, because really if you just kind of work at it and see what you're doing and just keep building and building. If you want more, like for instance there, if you want it heavier, then you just add it. If you want it lighter, you take your cloth and you remove it. Pretty neat stuff. I'm not a big fan of my chunky fingers, but it's what I have to work with, so there. Pretty nice, isn't it? So I would tidy up all these edges really nicely. Now here I don't really like that either. So I'm going to see if I can scrub it off. It's a bit too much there. I'm going to redo that bit. Okay. Oh, my dogs are barking. They're so noisy. Okay, so that is one of the gold. Now I would do the feet and just keep doing that. I would also do this part, which I haven't done on the other one yet, but just winkle it around. My dogs are so noisy. With the gold wax though, you have to use enough to make a difference. If you don't, it's a little bit too light. So if I don't want this mess here, which I don't particularly, I can do again a little bit of clear wax on my rag and just run it along there. Pull some of that out. Try not to pull all my black out. This is where teeny weeny fingers come in handy though. to be honest. So I would just keep going, but I mean, honestly, this needs a lot of fixing, but just for time's sake, I will leave it at that for now. But I want to show you the top of the table over here. So I'm going to move this camera around in a minute here. It looks very dark, but when we get the when we get everything on, when we get the table base and everything else on it, it's going to be pretty nice. So this is the tabletop, right there. It's a nice dark brown, but it's got some warmth to it as well. So this was stained, and then I put one coat of clear coat White One Poly on it. And I did a little bit of distressing to the legs. If I can find my paper. So distressing is just, sorry. I'm not sure if you can see that very well, but distressing is just taking your sandpaper, this is a 150 grit, and just moving it along the grooves so that it causes this little bit of distressing in it. So I'm going to try and move this camera down, sorry, bear with me. Oops, sorry. Okay, that's a bit better. You can see it a bit better there. Okay, so this side hasn't been distressed. This is what it looked like just after it's painted, and then I took the buff sander and I buffed the side. So I would just take now my sandpaper and run it along this groove here to bring out the dark underneath, the dark previous paint. Because remember, we didn't strip, we stripped the tabletop right down, but we didn't strip this part right down, so it's got the previous color underneath. Okay, and then we'll do the corners a little bit. Like that. To do a little bit on this top rail. And do some here. You just want to rough it up because, again, you want it to look not like it just came out of the factory, but you want it to look like it's been around for quite a while. So I think on this side I did a little bit onto this second rail, so we'll do that. And you just want to let wherever the sandpaper goes, that's where you take it off, because it has a mind of its own sort of thing. So it's starting to come there. And this is 3 coats of paint, so it's going to take a minute. Some people wet sand, but I find it's, when the paint's nice and dry, wet sanding. What I could have done too, though, is used wax, and just a little bit of beeswax in places before I painted, so that the paint comes off easier. But I find it just as easy to do this. It's a little bit of a chore, but it works. Probably good for my arms. And just keep going until you see how you want it. Okay, and then I would take a brush and a cloth and brush that off. And this is another side that hasn't been done. So when I finish all that, I will take the same gray wax and I will wax all of this, and letting the black kind of sit in these grooves, but just a tiny hint of gray on the actual outside. And then this is the bottom. So the bottom, I ran out of the espresso wax, but I want to put more espresso wax in here. and just shade it in here so that it has a little bit of shading once the legs are on, and a little bit lighter in here. But with this also, I have gone and distressed the sides so you can really see the distressed look there. And then I will wax this part too. And then we're ready to put the table together. So I think what I'll do is leave it there, and then probably Saturday, I will put the table together and we can see what it's like from there. But it's gonna look pretty neat. I think all in all, if you remember what it looked like before, and if you don't remember, go back and watch the initial video of when we stripped it down, but I think it's going to be a drastic difference. So this is the kind of thing you could probably pick these up at a buy and sell, or at a restore, or at a thrift store. Yard sales are really good for that sort of thing. And get yourself some paint and just, watch the videos so you learn how to do things, how to prep things. And if you like these videos, please share, because we want more people to follow our Facebook page. And the reason we want to do that is because there's no point doing a YouTube channel if we don't have enough followers initially. So we're going to do it that way and add more content. The YouTube videos that we do will have more pictures inserted and more information inserted to them, as well as on live. I can't do that much. I can't even have music in the background. So share with your friends, and hopefully people will follow and share with their friends. And if you have any comments or questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But that's it for today. I have got to run out and get another great big piece that we've just bought. So I am on my way out to do that. So have a good day, and I will